Hello, welcome back to the channel. Bill here, and in this video I want to talk more in depth about what type of dog trainer am I? What do I believe in? What do I think is right? What do I think is wrong? And it's complex yet simple at the same time. So for me, I am what I would call a relationship-based dog trainer. So I focus primarily on what your relationship is with your dog. What, as an owner, what kind of a relationship do you foster within your dog? Are you somebody that your dog has to listen to? Are you somebody that just focuses on showering your dog with affection? Are you somebody that only yells at your dog and you're constantly correcting them and you're just telling them what not to do? Because who you are matters to your dog. And for me, I focus on teaching people how to become their dog's calm and confident leader, and really embracing their inner leader, finding that because your dog needs it. Your dog needs somebody that they can look to for guidance, somebody they can look to for direction, so that they don't feel like they have to make all those decisions on their own. Because when it comes to dogs making decisions on their own, it's probably not going to end well, especially when things get complicated, or you'll see dogs put in new situations and they don't handle it as well. So I believe that everybody needs to be their dog's calm and confident leader. We are leading them with direction, we're with clear communication, and that is really the key to dog training, I feel like. So I think that most people's problems stem from a lack of clear communication and a lack of boundaries that they're able to establish effectively and fairly. So when it comes to just generally speaking about dog training, how I view things is that there's a giant spectrum. Okay, on the far right side, you've got the positive reinforcement only crew, who are telling you that the only way that you should be training your dog is with positive reinforcement. And I just think it's such a limiting scope, it's such a limiting perspective, and ultimately it's ineffective for 99% of dogs, because dogs need boundaries. They need clear expectations of what they are allowed to do and what they're not allowed to do. And the funny thing is that here locally, I work with a lot of people. A majority of my clients have tried training before, and I would say probably 85% of them, 85% of them come from positive reinforcement only trainers who don't know how to get through to that dog, and that's when they seek me out, because I don't have a scope on my, I don't, train a dog with blinders and saying, "Hey, I can only do things one way." Now, back to that spectrum, on the far right side, you've got positive reinforcement only. But then on the far left side, which is honestly way worse, but also it's a little bit complicated. But on the left side of this, you've got the compulsion trainers. And I've seen compulsion trainers, and what they do is they utilize primarily correction and telling dogs what not to do. And they do that through, most of the time, physical correction. And most compulsion trainers use prong collars and choke chains, and that's where they do a lot of their training. And they just pop the shit out of dogs for no reason whatsoever, just so that they can really make sure the dog is afraid of making mistakes. And the sad thing and the complicated thing about this is that positive reinforcement only crew, they think that the compulsion trainers are everybody else that doesn't follow only positive reinforcement. And that's what sucks, because there are so many of us and where we fall more in the middle. But for me, as a relationship-based trainer, I fall more on the right side. If you've ever worked with me, you'll realize I tell you that positive reinforcement is what we do 99% of the time. So we're always focusing on teaching the dog effectively what to do, right? And making sure that they understand what to do, making sure that they're reading your signal very clearly, that they've understand what message that you're trying to tell them. And then once we cross those boundaries and we understand that they get those, then we can start talking about other ways. So you've got the far right side, you've got the far left side. Somewhere in the middle is what we call balance training. And balance training uses all four quadrants of operant conditioning. We don't just use positive reinforcement only, but we'll also use negative reinforcement. There's positive punishment, and then there is negative punishment. And all of those things sound overwhelming. And I get why positive reinforcement and that movement is so popular right now, because it sounds appealing to people, right? Of course, I am force free, I am fear free. And all of those they're really effective marketing tools. But unfortunately, dogs cannot just get positive reinforcement and live a healthy, happy life, again, 99% of the time. Most dogs need, honestly, no, never mind. Every single dog needs to know effective boundaries, and they need to understand their clear boundaries, what to do and what not to do. So for me, as a balanced trainer is what you would technically call me, because I will use all four quadrants of operant conditioning depending on the dog that is in front of me. I don't have a method that I follow for every single dog. I don't have a tool that I will use for every single dog. I evaluate the dog that's in front of me. I evaluate the owner that's in front of me and what is going to best help them communicate with their dog. So when it comes to, I fall more on the balanced trainer technically, but that I am far more positive reinforcement than I am compulsion. I don't really use heavy correction ever, and that's because that doesn't do what people think it does, right? Most of the time, it's going to shut dogs down. I focus a lot on, and most of the time, if you've ever worked with me, you can vouch for me on this, is that we teach the dog what to do. We make sure the dog understands what it is that we're asking them to do, whether that's a sit, down, place, heel. It doesn't matter what the command is. We want to make sure that they understand it. We want to make sure they understand it in every context imaginable, right? And making sure that they are, once we understood that they get what they're doing, then we focus on the idea of, did they understand the message that I'm trying to get them? And that's a really big one for me. And I think that is something that kind of differentiates my type of training with anything that's around me. And that's because I want to make sure, I'm so focused on clear communication, making sure that my dog understood what I'm trying to tell them. So, and then if they did, so my dog knows what I'm saying, what I'm asking them to do, and they've gotten my message of what I'm asking them to do, now it's my job as a trainer to make sure that my dog knows that they have to listen to that command. That, and only then, right, when my dog understands what to do, understands the context in which I'm asking it, and I know that they received my message, then and only there would using correction be fair, making sure the dog knows what to do and the expectation of them is very clear. Then you can start using correction. But again, what correction looks like is so misunderstood by, like, again, like 90% of people. They think they hear correction, it sounds bad, but what it really is just implementing a boundary. Hey, you can't get up until I tell you to, right? So when we go through doorways, I put my dog in a sit, I open the door. That's not my dog's signal. You can't get up. If you do get up, right? We've practiced this. You know how to sit. You know my expectation. I made sure that you understood my signal via either my verbal command, my leash pressure command, or my hand signal. So I know you got my message. If you choose to blow it off, that is a fair time to show a boundary. Hey, you can't break that command. So again, without diving too deep, and I probably already have, but when it comes to balance training is, again, and there's balance trainers, there are people that call themselves balance trainers, and they are compulsion trainers, and that's not good. And that is what gives people like myself a bad name, when we will use the right tool for the right dog, or when we will use more than one quadrant of operant conditioning. It's what scares people, and that's where, for me, I'm as transparent as they come. I post a ton on Instagram about what type of training I do and who I'm training and how I'm training. I'm going to post more here on YouTube about all of that as well. You can go to my personal Instagram, you can go to my business Instagram to see how I train dogs. If that doesn't satisfy you, you can come here and I will give you a free consultation and free evaluation where I will show you how I train. I am transparent. If it's not for you, it's not for you, right? But what I will tell you is that I am as transparent as they get. I utilize positive reinforcement more than anything, because what I focus on is, again, relationship building, transforming who you are to your dog. You are not your dog's friend, right? You are your dog's more of a parental figure. That doesn't mean you can't play with your dog. I advocate for playing with your dog all the time, but that doesn't mean that you're your dog's friend, right? You have to be the person that's going to give them guidance, that's going to give them leadership that they so desperately crave from us. and need from us to be successful. So again, lastly, my style of training, I would consider myself a relationship-based trainer. I will show you how to do all of the different things when it comes to obedience commands, when it comes to walking nicely on the leash, when it comes to off leash, when it comes to e-collar training. I can do all of that for you. But what I really want to focus on is showing you how to become your dog's leader. Because once you're able to do that, once you're able to establish your engagement with your dog, and you teach your dog what you want them to do, but also teach them what they can't do, then you're going to really start to see that you guys are able to live in harmony together. But that's it. That's a little bit more information. I hope it wasn't too much. If you have any questions about my style of training, what I would do, give me a comment below. Make sure you subscribe if you are interested in more of this information. Otherwise, I will see you later.